Hello everyone, it's Wezi here, back with another video. So, if you watched the last video that I posted, I talked about different types of visas. And in that video, I said in the subsequent videos, I'll be uploading a few more videos, delving deep into some other specific visas. So, I said I'll talk about the student visa, I'll talk about the skilled worker visa, I'll talk about the health and care worker visa, and likely I'll find another visa that I can talk about. So, in this video, I want to talk about the student visa. Yeah, so if you want to study here in the UK, you may want to watch this video until the end because there are some useful insights that you may find beneficial. But also what I'll do at the end of this video is I'll share my screen, not at the end, sometime somewhere in between the video. I'll share my screen just to show you how you can navigate the visa page on the UK government website. So before I share my screen and before I show you whatever to do with the visa, I want to talk about a few things that you need to make note of. Now, the first thing is to understand that before you think of a visa, before you think of, oh, I'd like to get a visa for the UK for me to study there, the first thing that you have to think of is getting an admission into a university, right? So this video may apply to whether you want to do an undergrad, a master's, or a PhD. But for the most part, maybe I may lean towards the master's because I have that experience. But it may apply across. Before I go deep into everything, let me just talk about the difference between the admission that you get from a university as well as the Home Office or the Immigration Office. These are two different entities, right? So you get an admission from the university. That doesn't mean you can travel to the UK, right? You just can say, oh, I got an admission into such a university, so I'll be traveling to the UK. No. The moment you get an admission into a university, the next thing that you have to focus on is getting a visa. And this is processed by the Home Office or the Immigration Office, known as the Home Office, right? So the first thing, as I said, make sure you get an admission into a university. Then after that, we can start talking about the visa. So let me talk about a few things once you have been given the admission offer. So most of the times, you are given a conditional offer. Now, as the name has suggested, there are some conditions that you have to fulfill to make it unconditional. So most of the times, the conditions could be proving that you're able to speak English with a certificate from IELTS exams, or maybe from a letter from your school. The second thing would be for you to pay a deposit fee. Now, let me put it this way to say you need to pay a deposit fee as well as to prove the whole English thing for you to make the conditional offer unconditional. Now, depending on the conditions that you have been given, sometimes it could not be the English thing, it will just be maybe the deposit, right? Depending on the conditions that you have been given, once you have fulfilled them, you are now given another offer known as the unconditional offer. Now, with this one, there are no any other conditions, right? So it simply means with this one, you can be able to apply for the visa. Now, with this unconditional offer, what normally comes with it is the CAS number. So this is a confirmation of acceptance to study here in the UK. It's known as the CAS number. So you will need this CAS number when you're applying for the visa, right? So this is an important thing because you just can't say, oh, I have an offer, let me start applying for a visa. They will ask you, where is your CAS number, or what is your CAS number? You will have to provide that for your visa to be successful, right? So this is more like the university says, you know what, we have given a place to Wezi. Now the university communicates to the Home Office to say, if you get a visa application for a guy known as Wezi, this is the number that we have given Wezi. So you can be able to accept the visa application, right, and make it successful. So that's the connection between the two entities. So what I'll do now is I'll take you to the visa page. Now, as I said, the moment you are on this page, it means you already have the unconditional offer, and you want to apply for this for the visa. So let's go and let me show you what's on this page, right? So as always, I'll share my screen, and then I will show you a few things that you may want to take note of, right? Very important things is what I'll make sure you guys should see. Oh yeah, how you guys doing? How is life? Life must be good, yeah? All right, so just a moment. So I will now share my screen. As you can see my screen, So I've just gotten back to the page that I showed last week in the previous video. But what you can do is you can easily just Google UK visa. It will get you to the government website. So here we are. We have the study in the UK. I'll click here and we're looking for a student visa. Right. So let's start with the overview. So they're saying you can apply for a student visa to study in the UK if you are over, if you are 16 or over, and you, now they're talking about the a few eligibility um, requirements. So you have been offered a place on a course by a licensed student sponsor. So remember we talked about you need to have a student. Sorry, remember we talked about you need to have an admission into a university. So this is what they're talking about. So you can go check here to see if your university is there. But also they're talking about the courses that you can study, right? So they're talking about a full-time course leading to qualification that's below degree level. That's levels 3, 4, and 5. Then we're talking about a full-time course leading to a qualification that's degree level, talking about levels 6, 7, 8. So they're different levels, right? So all these you can be able to apply. And as you can see, we're having the PhD here. Now, remember what I talked about. I talked about the confirmation of acceptance for studies. So they're saying once they've offered you a place on a course, your education provider will send you a reference number called a confirmation of acceptance for studies. This is the one that I was saying. If you remember, I said you need to have this number before proceeding to apply for a visa. So they're even saying to say you must enter this reference number on your visa application. So the CAS number is the most important number that you need as a student. So let's go back to see a few more things on the student visa. So they're talking about you should also have enough money to support yourself and pay for your course. The amount will vary depending on your circumstances. So let's read what they're talking about here. So you need some money. So you must have enough money to pay for your course and support yourself in the UK. How much money you need depends on your circumstances and what you're applying for. So the course fees says you need enough money to pay for your course for one academic year. That's up to 9 months. The amount you need to pay will be on your confirmation of acceptance for studies. So as I said, the unconditional offer is really important because you'll find all the information that you need on that document. So you also need money that shows that you'll be able to support yourself in terms of survival or subsistence. So let's look at it. They say how much money you need depends on where you'll be studying. You need either 1,483 pounds per month for up to 9 months for courses in London, or you need 1,136 pounds per month for up to 9 months for courses outside London. As you can tell, London is an expensive city, and if you're looking to study in London, you need to have a little more money, right? So you can be able to do the calculations. I think to make it much easier, let me do it like this. You can be able to calculate how much money you need, and yeah, that's it. So as you can see, London is expensive, but yeah. So let's go down and see whatever they're saying. As they're saying, when you do not need to prove you have money to support yourself. So they're saying if you can read through. So I think if you are from these countries, likely you don't need to prove that you have money to sustain yourself or your hair. But if you are outside these countries, then you will have to prove that. So a simple thing here to do is let's see. Let's get the calculator here. So let's say the fees is Okay, just a moment. I want to see the amount. So that's 1,136. Let's say you don't want to study in London, right? So let's do simple calculations here. So that's 1136, 36 times 9. So you need to show that you have this amount in your account. That's 10,224 pounds. But not only this money, let me say it this way, you don't need to only show this money that you have it in your account, but you also need to show the balance of the fees. Now, remember I said when you are given an offer, you have to pay for a deposit. Now, the balance of the fees will be added to this amount. Then in your account, in your bank balance, you have to show that you have the fees, the remaining balance, but you also have to show that you have this money that we just calculated here, 10,224, but it could vary. But yeah, this is the amount of money that you need to have in your account when you are applying for a visa. But let me put it this way. When you're applying for a visa, they say you should show that you have this money in your bank account. So the thing is, you should show, like, for the last 28 days, you should get a bank statement, then use that to apply for a visa. So this plus the balance of the fees, right? So let's go back the overview. So I've done this, the money support, the speak, read, and understand English. So this is the IELTS that I talked about. If you have a certificate, that's okay. I used a letter from my uni, it worked. So you may want to try that as well before you do the IELTS exams. I also did a video on that talking about the IELTS. You can go check it on this channel. So you can go read a little more about the English test and all on this page. So if you're coming from these countries here, where I'm hovering, you don't need to prove that you can speak English. So you can just you don't need to prove anyway. So let's continue to go on the page. So if you're applying from outside the UK, they're talking about if you're applying inside the UK, how long you can stay. So everything is here on how long you can stay. Sometimes you can be able to stay longer, or you can be able to switch to a postgraduate visa. I think I'll talk about that visa as well. You can be able to switch to that one as well. So, for example, you're coming to study for a 1-year course. After you finish, you can apply to go to the postgraduate study visa. So you'll be given 2 more years. I think I talked about that in the previous video. So I think so here they're talking about when you can travel. So you can just read that. But I think one of the most important parts is also on the fees. So they're saying it costs £490 to apply for a student visa from outside the UK, £490 to extend or switch to a student visa from inside the UK. You must pay the visa fees for each person that joins you. So likely you can come with dependents, but mostly I think for PhD students nowadays, I'm mostly for PhD students. I think for masters they put a restriction on dependents, but we'll have to check that one. So another important part that you have to know is you have to pay the healthcare surcharge. So this is known as the IHS. So you have to pay this amount as part of your application. So this is for you to be able to have access to healthcare services here in the UK. So it is dependent on the number of years on your visa. So there's an amount for this one. Let's see what the amount is. I think you can be able to calculate it if you want to calculate it. But there's an amount for this. You can go, let me see. Let's find out who needs to pay the IHS. So here's a list of those that need to pay the IHS fee. So yep, the amount, let's see, where is amount? But you can check on the page, but I think you can be able to calculate the amount. But anyway, let me just put it to say this is the amount of money that you pay for you to have access to healthcare services. So yep. So it will be multiplied by the number of years, but most of the time, let's say coming to do for 2 years. So let's say it's £600, you have to multiply by 2 years, right? Yeah, they're saying how much you pay depends on how long your visa lasts. So yeah, that's what I say. So your partner and children, they're saying you may be able to bring your partner and children. Let's look at the dependents part. So your partner and children, dependents, may be able to apply to come to the UK or stay longer in the UK. You must be one of the following. They're saying a government-sponsored student studying a course that lasts more than 6 months, a full-time student on a postgraduate level course, level 7 or above, that lasts more than 9 months or longer. If your postgraduate level starts on or after the 1st of January 2024, it must either be a PhD or other doctorate or a research-based higher degree. I think that's when you can be able to come with your dependents. Aside from that, they may not allow you to come with your dependents. So you can read more here if you want to learn whether you can come with your dependents or not. But these are the amounts and the like, right? So if you're applying outside the UK, and yep. So let's go and see what's left here. I think we have been able to cover everything. We've been able to cover the overview. We've been able to talk about the course itself. We've talked about the money that you need. We've talked about the English test and everything. We've talked about the documents. Let's talk about the documents here. Yeah. So when you apply for a student visa, you must provide a current passport or other valid travel documentation. We're coming back to this. This is the most important part as long as you're a student. A confirmation of acceptance for studies from your course provider. We're getting back to this, right? So you must also prove you have enough money. We talked about the money one. A valid ATS certificate if your course and nationality require it. So you can check if your course or nationality require it. A proof of parental or other legal guardian consent if you are under 18. Another important thing is the TB test, tuberculosis test. So you need to do this when you're applying for the visa. So the certificate lasts for 6 months. So you can do it at any time, but it's valid for 6 months. So each country has their own place where you can be able to do this. In Malawi, I think they do it at IOM. So yeah, the last time I checked, it was in City Center at Golden Peacock last time, but likely things would have changed by now. Yep, pretty much I think this is it as covered on the student visa. So that's it, guys. But let me just quickly say one thing. As I said, the visa rules and regulations do change from time to time. So as much as yes, you have watched this video and you're fired up, want to go apply for the visa, I'll say go back and read some of the things likely they have changed and then make sense of whatever they have said on the website, right? Don't just get my word here and be like, oh, what is it said? You can come with dependents if you are not doing a PhD. No, read, because these things do change from time to time. I hope you do find this video helpful. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.